The Deluxe Edition Network, also known as The Den, is an incredible podcast network that offers a wide variety of entertaining and informative podcasts.
With a lineup of shows covering various topics, such as interviews with a wide variety of guests, history, music, relationships, true crime, and so much more. The Den provides content that caters to a diverse range of interests.
The hosts and guests on the Deluxe Edition Network demonstrate a deep passion and expertise in their respective fields, making each episode on each show engaging and thought-provoking.
The network fosters a sense of community by encouraging listeners to interact through live chats, social media, and forums, creating an inclusive environment for discussion and sharing opinions.
With its commitment to high-quality production, the shows in the Deluxe Edition Network continue to captivate and entertain its ever-growing audience.
Whether you're a podcast enthusiast or someone looking to explore new topics, The Den is a fantastic platform to dive into and uncover fascinating insights from experts in their fields.
The Deluxe Edition Network is the home of independent awesomeness.
To find all these great podcasts in one convenient location, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Films and Fermentation, episode 146. That is right. We are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. In this episode 146, we are revisiting an Easter season classic in all of its 3-hour and 40-minute glory. We are looking tonight at Cecil B. DeMille's The Ten Commandments, starring Charlton Heston, Yul Brynner, Edward G. Robinson, and Anne Baxter. So let it be written. So let it be done.
Yours was the face I saw above my cradle. The only mother I've ever known.
But my feet are set upon a road that I must follow.
Director Cecil B. DeMille.
I will teach thee.
Man shall be ruled by law, not by the will of other men.
Slaves are mine.
The Academy Award-winning film.
Let my people go.
Of the unforgettable definitive Bible story.
I know not his God, neither will I let his people go.
You have not obeyed the Lord.
This night, the Lord our God will deliver us from the bondage of Egypt.
They shall die under my chariot wheels. So let it be written. So let it be done.
Starring some of film's greatest legends. The greatest epic of all time.
Behold his mighty hand. Those who will not live by the law shall die by the law.
The Ten Commandments. Now on 4K Ultra HD, Blu-ray, and digital.
Yeah, you need all those extra features like they have in the 4K. thought about adding the Mel Brooks thing to
You need a
this.
soundboard. Because playing it off for everything else, you get pieces of it.
Yep.
I got it. I give you these 15.
I know what it was. I only heard the word.
Don't forget, you can send us an email at filmsfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsoffermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. Become part of the Films of Fermentation family by joining us on Patreon or buying our merchandise at teespring.com. We are now part of the Deluxe Edition Network. That's The Den at the deluxeeditionnetwork.com. Follow us as well as the podcasts of the month, Bacon is My Podcast, and the Beard Laws Podcast at deluxeeditionnetwork.com. We'll come back right after this brief word from Coffee Brothers.
I love a good beer, but right now, I could use a good cup of coffee.
Have you heard about Coffee Brothers?
Oh, yeah. They're that coffee company out of New York, right?
Well, they're more like a coffee wizards of New York City. They source these amazing seasonal blends and single origin coffees. It's like a flavor adventure in every cup. And get this, they roast everything in small batches. None of that mass-produced stuff. It's like each bean gets the VIB treatment.
VIB?
Very important bean.
Sounds fancy, but is it worth it?
Definitely. Plus, they're a two-person team. I mean, that's dedication right there. Two brothers, one mission to caffeinate the world. And right now, you can save 10% on your order. I mean, who doesn't love a good discount?
All right, you've convinced me. Let's get some Coffee Brothers now.
Coffee Brothers, where every cup is a sip of perfection. Save 10% on your next order with the code FNF10. That's FNF10. Cheers to great coffee. Oh, that's good. I can cut that out and turn that into a new commercial that we can use as a recording next time.
All right.
Hopefully I don't sound like I'm in a toilet.
Speaking of that, you were in the toilet?
Yeah.
Speaking of that, what are we drinking tonight? I know Mike's on call, so I'm assuming it's something boring.
Tea.
It's tea.
It's tea.
It's a cup of tea. Not Long Island iced tea.
Fresh out of Boston Harbor.
Just tea.
Just tea.
Just tea. I thought tonight was an easy night to theme my drink because it's based on something that Mike had already given us in a beer history thing a couple weeks ago. And that is that beer was a staple of the ancient Egyptian diet. And since we're talking about the 10 Commandments tonight, which took place in ancient Egypt, I looked up this further fact. The ancient Egyptians made at least 17 types of beer and 24 variety of wine. The most common type of beer was known as the HQT. Beer was the drink of the common laborers. Financial accounts report that the Giza pyramid builders were allotted a daily ration of 1 1/3 gallons of beer a day.
Gallons.
Well, you've been working in the desert all day building pyramids. So I figured
don't drink water. Don't drink the water. Drink the beer.
So since we're blue collar guys, and we're talking about ancient Egypt, I'm drinking beer tonight. So I got a Red Zone lager from Sam Adams, which Kevin gave me. And then I'm going to follow that up with a Franzenheiner Weiss beer, premium Weiss beer, which I believe Mike gave me.
Yes.
So 2 beers for my 2 friends and ancient Egypt. Kev, what do you got going on?
I was hoping, gentlemen, that I could find this beer, and unfortunately, I don't want to say Untapped failed me, because I think I checked alternative sources, and it's just not in the area. But there is a beer out there called the 10 Commandments by the Lost Abbey, and I was really hoping to have procured that before tonight's podcast. But alas, I did not, and the cocktails that I saw for anything related to the Old Testament were out of my reach. So I'm cracking open this one from Deschutes Brewery, which my wife brought back a few weeks ago from Oregon, Portland, Oregon. It is the Home at Port Belgian-style dark ale. This is a bourbon port barrel type. It's been aged 13 months before bottling. It is 12.6% alcohol by volume. Thank God for spring break, and I don't have work tomorrow. And it's about a pint of beer. Well, a pint and 1 pint, 0.9 fluid ounces. So
I am on spring break as well. I am off tomorrow too.
This bad boy open. Ah. Here we go.
Mike, anything special happened this week?
This week in film history. In 1951, Rodgers and Hammerstein's musical The King and I, based on the novel Anna and the King of Siam, opens at the St. James Theater, New York City. Runs for 1,246 performances, winning 5 Tony Awards. Star Yul Brynner would lead the cast of the 1956 film version and play the role over 4,200 times.
So it's funny that's a fact this week, because when I was looking up information about 10 Commandments. 10 Commandments came out the same year as the film version of The King and I. Yul Brynner is in both films.
Yes.
And he won the Oscar for Best Actor for The King and I, but wasn't even nominated for the 10 Commandments.
He couldn't pass for Egyptian.
Well, I feel like he was Russian, believe it or not. And I kind of feel like he was at least a supporting acting nominee for 10 Commandments. I thought he's my favorite part of the film. What's the other one you got there? Speaking of musicals.
1952, Singing in the Rain, musical comedy film directed by Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen, starring Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds, premieres at Radio City Music Hall in New York City.
Debbie Reynolds' film debut.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken. Classic. Can't really say anything bad about Singing in the Rain, other than Clockwork Orange ruining the song Singing in the Rain for me.
Thanks, Kubrick.
Thank you, Kubrick. What's the next one you got there?
1959, Some Like It Hot, American comedy film directed by Billy Wilder and starring Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, and Jack Lemmon, premieres at Lowe's Capitol Theater in New York City.
This is a great comedy. This is such a good movie. And I actually just rewatched it a couple months ago, I want to say. I hadn't watched it in a while, and I heard another pod talking about it, and I was like, man, I got to revisit this one. It's got that great final scene where Jack Lemmon's on the boat with the old guy that's been like
we
pursuing the whole
can't do
movie.
it because yada, 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 yada.
Well, no, he takes off the wig and he's like, but I'm a man. And the guy goes, well, nobody's perfect. And the last one he got there.
1974 film adaptation of The Great Gatsby, starring Robert Redford and Mia Farrow, with costumes by Ralph Lauren, first premiered.
I have to say this, and I don't normally say this because I'm not a big Baz Luhrmann fan, but I prefer the Baz Luhrmann Great Gatsby, Leonardo DiCaprio, over this version.
Mm-hmm.
What? Ralph Lauren didn't do their costumes.
The Robert Redford one is good, but it's slow paced. It's a very 1970s film.
Watching the movie made me feel like I was reading the book. It was a little, it drug out.
A little dry. A little bit. The Baz Luhrmann one.
I just thought it was funny they put in the costumes were by
Ralph Lauren. Yeah. The only thing I really like about Baz Luhrmann films is you don't have to be high to watch them because you feel high watching them. Mike, do you have any must-try beer or craft destinations for us this evening?
I have a craft destination from New Hampshire called the Smutty Nose Brewing Company.
Smutty Nose.
Smutty Nose. This famous craft brewery has been brewing delicious craft ales and lagers for more than 25 years. Sample the incredible seasonal and year-round brews they have on tap, or stop by the on-site restaurant for lunch or dinner. They also have a second experimental location in Dover. Family-friendly, dog-friendly, with a retail shop for gifts, a 9-hole disc golf course, free day or night, and of course a tasting bar and beer garden. This is one destination brewery to put on your bucket list. Can you imagine being drunk and trying to play golf?
Yes,
especially
Evan and I have been drunk trying to play.
Yes, yes, we have.
Oh, mini golf at least.
Yes, mini golf.
I have a picture of Kevin pretending to shit in a tree.
You thought he was pretending.
It's a rough night. Did you say mini golf or did you say disc golf? Disc golf. Oh, that's even more impossible.
That's even worse because then you can be like slinging it at each other's faces. And...
That's right.
I can see like spinning around to throw the disc and falling to the ground.
Sounds like a place the three of us should go do and do our podcast at the same time.
I agree, man. I'd love to go up to New Hampshire and check out what they got in terms of breweries and shit.
Try out some of those chewy beers.
One of
the chewy beers.
All right.
No chewy beers this time.
No chewy beers this time. It's time for our newest segment. Beer news is good news.
Beer is good. Beer is good. Beer is good. And soft. Beer is good. Beer is good. Beer is good. Let's go drink some beer.
Katie's in the room right now. Katie's giving me the weirdest look right now.
Beer.
Unfortunately, gentlemen, not all beer news is good news. Recent information coming out. This is reported from the
guy that was driving the ship that ran into the bridge was drunk drinking beer.
He was not. No, we don't have more information on that yet, but I'll keep you updated.
Okay.
This is being reported from Daniel Klein at thestreet.com. He's reporting that more beer brands and breweries are closing and filing, closed after filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So, we've gone through some of the breweries local to us that have suffered. What's been going on, and it's not just here in New Jersey in the tri-state area. It's gotten much more difficult for craft beers to pick up their sales. The introduction of things like canned cocktails and hard seltzers are taking off, which means that the craft brews like what we enjoy, the IPAs, the Belgians, the Hefeweizens, all by small craft breweries are closing down slowly, unfortunately. We have seen a decline in the market since 2023. The beer shipments have fallen about 5%, and they are on track to lose about 200 million barrels in 2024. So that's not good. If you are from the area and you are familiar with 7 Mile Brewery in Rio Grande, New Jersey, they are also filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy. In addition to that, we've seen Flying Fish go, and close down. Denver's Joyride Brewing, Tampa's Zydeco Brew Works, Cleveland's Terrestrial Brewing, and Chicago's Metropolitan Brewing have also all filed for bankruptcy, in addition to San Francisco's Anchor Brewing. Don't know what we can do to stop this. We could, buy more beer or visit more breweries. I don't know, but it's just a sad story that I had to report.
Some tells me we need to rename this segment.
It's got to be a hard industry because there's so many different beers out there, so many different companies.
You still have to think like they're still competing with the larger brands like
the larger brands
Bud and all that still dominate the market.
And you get you got which were craft beers are now the main stuff like Yards and Victory. they've made a good living out of what they're doing now, but there's only so much different types of beers you can have.
There's a lot of beers that were once considered craft that are now kind of mainstream, like Sam
Right.
Adams and Yingling and things like that. So
Right.
And you can consider, I mean, it's saturated. The market's saturated with them, and when you have so many, yes, the introduction of seltzers and hard ciders and things like that, cocktails are just going to,
It gets watered down, just like charter schools.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's still the good ones that are out there that are small for us. We still got the Chamonix.
Yeah.
Got Broken Goblet.
Yep.
I think
Evil Genius.
Yeah, well, these places, I think like the places in like PA and Jersey do well because it's like a popular area for craft beers and stuff. But when you're talking about places like some of the states you named, I could see why it's not popular in those areas.
Sure. Yeah.
I
figured I'd start with the bad news and then go to the good news story.
Oh, we do have good news.
I got two stories. Okay.
All right.
And I don't know if, maybe you won't consider it good news. I don't know how you feel about progress. Scientists turn to AI to make beer taste even better.
Skylab. I mean,
Skynet.
Skynet's coming.
Skynet Brewery.
It's how they're going to get all the humans out. Researchers in Belgium use artificial intelligence to improve taste, but say the skill of the brewer is still vital.
A machine's going to tell me what tastes good? I don't think so.
Professor Kevin Verstappen of KU Leuven University, I'm guessing in Belgium.
Say that again 3 times.
Yeah, seriously. Says AI could help tease apart the complex relationships involved in human aroma perception. Beer, like most food products, contains hundreds of different aroma molecules that get picked up by our tongue and nose, and our brain then integrates them into one picture. However, the compounds interact with each other, so we perceive how we perceive one depends also on the concentrations of the others. Man, I can't read today. So essentially, it's taking the alcohol content, the pH, the sugar concentration, the presence and concentration of more than 200 different compounds involved in the flavor, feeding that into an AI program, and having them construct what they feel would be unique and interesting recipes. Now, this is where it becomes the brewer still vital. AI can only tell you what it thinks. You have to go about putting it together and seeing how the theory becomes the practice. Mike, you look so into this. I mean, you are excited, man.
No, I'm not.
Skynet is Mike's number one fear.
I get technology, and I think technology has its spots, but not telling me what's supposed to be good to drink.
But what if it offered you a suggestion? Are you just going to snub it because it was AI that suggested it, or
no, I would not snub it, but I would look at it very warily, going, "How the hell would it know?"
Okay.
It does not have the taste buds that
I'd probably end up doing the same thing I normally do, ordering the beer with the most creative name and then being disappointed by it.
Exactly.
Maybe the AI does know a little something more than I do.
But where's the fun in that? Listen to something that tells you this is supposed to be good. Let's try this instead. Oh,
So,
no.
This uplifting bit of beer news was brought to you by Newsly.me.
Beer is bad. Beer is bad.
It's good.
It's bad.
Newsly.me is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android that brings news to you in a natural human voice. Stop scrolling. Start listening. Go to Newsly.me today. Use the promo code ANFERMENT to get your first month premium subscription for free. Beer is good. Beer is good. Beer is good. And stuff.
and of course, we had to talk about, Newsly, the AI,
Yeah, the AI broke the reason.
Brought the AI.
I'll send you guys a link to this YouTube video of an AI robot that I showed to my kids in STEM the other day, and they were freaking out. It's an interactive robot that actually talks naturally to the point that it actually pauses in the middle of sentences and says like things like that.
Oh, that's cool.
It's so weird. I'll send it to you. So I only have one note from last show, and that is that we have a date lined up for our live episode. So we're recording this tonight for the 10 Commandments show, and then we're going to be taking a brief respite, little spring break if you want, and then we will be coming back in a couple weeks with episode 147, and then episode 150 is going to be a live episode, and for that one we are going to be recording on Monday, May 6th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time.
That's
So
going to
if
be
you would
Films and Fermentations, the musical, right?
Films and Fermentation, the musical. So if you would like to be part of our live broadcast, make sure you mark it down on your calendars. Monday, May 6th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. We will be going live with our 150th episode celebration. It will also be our Star Wars Day episode. So we look forward to having some of you in our live chat section for that night and contributing to the show, talking to us while we are recording. It's going to be a lot of fun. So mark it down on your calendars, folks. Monday, May 6th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, episode 150 live, the Star Wars Day episode.
We're going to have chips and dip.
Yes.
And chains and whips, because I'm excited.
Cake and punch.
There will be refreshments.
Yes, there will be refreshments.
Just remember, the dark side is better because they have.
There will be pizza. I'll make sure I let Donald know from You, Me, and a Movie.
Pizza the Hut?
We'll be right back after these quick promos from some of our friends over at the Deluxe Edition Network. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Matt, the Triple T podcast host. What does Triple T stand for? TikTok Tuesday, a show where viewers submit TikTok videos and we play and react to them. The co-hosts Toby, Euban, and Richie. You never know what's going to come out of our mouths. We're live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Beard Laws YouTube. Let us rebuild your For You page with the best TikTok videos and be a part of the show by sending in your videos. What's up, everybody? I'm Matt, the host of the Beard Laws podcast, a podcast that has nothing to do with beards. A podcast where we aim to entertain and interact with our live viewers, but our listeners, they're like the quiet person that never talks sitting around the bonfire because the rest of the group is so entertaining, hilarious, wild, and a little bit dumb. So grab a drink, grab a snack, and let Beard Laws and the boys, Toby, Brandon, Logan, Zach, Richie, and our occasional special guest entertain you. We're live on the Beard Laws YouTube Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and for whatever reason you want to see us and or our beards, check us out, thebeardlawspodcast.com. We're everywhere.
Hey man, what's your bacon?
You gotta tell everybody what that means first.
It's that extra side topping or main course in life that makes everything about your day even better.
Whether it's movies, music, cooking, paranormal, video games, whatever it is that helps you unwind, maybe even get a little bit inspired. We talk to hot new bands.
We are Felicity.
Hey, this is Bradley from Emerosa.
TV personalities.
Hi, my name is Rachel Pizzolatto.
Hi, my name is Patty Magley.
Wrestling personalities.
Hi, everybody. I am Eric Bischoff. WWE Hall of Famer, the Godfather here.
Actors.
This is Sean Kanan. Thank you for joining us.
Fellow podcasters.
Emo Social Club.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dave Schrader. Pretty much any like-minded creative across all facets of the entertainment industry.
You can check out Bacon is My Podcast on all streaming platforms, as well as the Strangerhood TV YouTube channel. New episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Listen in when we find the answer to the question, what's your bacon?
All right, we are back from that quick break.
That was a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, we're a couple shorter promos tonight. Do you need me to pause the recording so you can take a break?
No. I just figured if we have as many as we typically do, that's a good time to go.
I played one of the longer ones at the very beginning before the opening theme song, so I was trying to I try to distribute every episode so it's not always coming at the same time. So
got it.
Where was I? Oh yeah, we're talking about the 10 Commandments tonight. So I was going to go right into my summary, but I feel like I should do the IMDb summary first because that's always entertaining. So the IMDb summary of the 1956 classic The Ten Commandments, starring Charlton Heston, Yul Brynner, and Anne Baxter, and directed by Cecil B. DeMille. This is the summary according to IMDb. Moses, raised as a prince of Egypt in the Pharaoh's household, learns of his true heritage as a Hebrew and his divine mission as the deliverer of his people from slavery. I know I normally make fun of the IMDb synopses, but that was actually pretty good.
That's very accurate.
They summed up a 3-hour and 40-minute movie in a pretty quick sentence.
Yeah, but I'm saying, is that all they said?
That is not all they said, but well, that is all they said. Yeah,
that was it.
That was the IMDb summary for the Ten Commandments. There is a longer summary further down. There's a storyline summary. To escape the edict of Egypt's Pharaoh Ramses, condemning all newborn Hebrew males, the infant Moses is set adrift on the Nile in a reed basket. Saved by the Pharaoh's daughter, Betania, he is adopted by her and brought up in the court of her brother, Pharaoh Seti. Moses gains Seti's favor and the love of the throne princess Nefertiti, as well as the hatred of Seti's son, Ramses II. When his Hebrew heritage is revealed, Moses is cast out of Egypt and makes his way across the desert, where he marries, has a son, and is commanded by God to return to Egypt to free the Hebrews from slavery. In Egypt, Moses' fiercest enemy proves not to be Ramses II, but someone near to him who can harden his hearts. Yeah. So, for anybody out there who didn't really have the time to watch this 3-hour and 40-minute epic, I watched it without commercials, and it took me almost a whole afternoon. So what I watched was the film, the actual theatrical release, which begins with a 4-minute musical overture.
Yes.
Because that's what I need in a 3-hour and 40-minute film is the opening musical number from what would be a stage play. That is followed by a 3-minute long introduction by Cecil B. DeMille, who gives a historical and biblical background to the story and reasons why he wanted to film this, and et cetera, and so forth.
The second time,
yes. It is the second time he's done it. He did a silent film version in 1923. That's followed by 6 minutes of credits.
It is. Can we stop on the credits for a second?
Yes.
Just think about how many stars are in this movie when Vincent Price is on a lower tier.
Vincent Price was listed as, and also Vincent Price.
Yes.
We also have to think his part's relatively small. He's only in it for maybe like 10 minutes.
Yes.
He has like a few scenes with Moses, and then he has the scene where he gets killed, and that's about it. And like that's it. Like he actually did the film because he said before his acting career was over, he wanted to do a film with Cecil B. DeMille.
He wanted to introduce the angel of death that came over because that's kind of his thing. He goes,
that's his thing.
Yeah. The angel of death is arriving.
He didn't realize his last acting job would be Thriller with Michael Jackson.
No, his last acting job was Edward Scissorhands.
Edward Scissorhands. I'm sorry. Yes,
that's right.
You are correct. 6 minutes of credits was a normal thing for films in the 50s. You know, they always led with the credits.
Well, that's but then at the end they could just go the end.
Yeah.
Or if they were really fancy with their pinky up in the air, it was just Finn.
Now that is 4, 7. That's 13 minutes already. We haven't even gotten to the film yet. So of course, after all that is done, we have a 3-minute opening narration. So we are now 16 minutes into the film, and we haven't even seen a character on screen yet. The first scene.
That's how you know it's going to be an epic.
Well, that's how you know it's going to be epic because the first scene, just right out of the gate, the first scene is the Pharaoh declaring the death of all newborn males among the Hebrew slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Scene 2 is rampant infanticide. We go from 16 minutes of credits to the death of all these babies. And they're pretty, not graphic, but pretty brutal. So, skip scene 3, scene 4, the Egyptian women talking about men. Scene of all the women sitting by the river, and they're all talking about getting a man. And
would you rather have a man or gold? I'll take the gold because then I can have any man.
as I'm watching this, I kept waiting for Madeline Kahn to show up and begin the royal orgy. Get ready, girls. We're about to face guys. So we go from the royal orgy and all the women talking about men to Bithiah, one of the Egyptian women. She was the daughter of the pharaoh, finding the basket that Moses was placed in order to keep him safe from the kill all the babies decree. She declares him her son.
Because it's safe to have a basket float down the Nile River that's full of crocodiles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's Moses.
But it's Moses, so you know he's going to be safe.
Yeah.
So she finds the baby.
Following him in the river and trying to hide.
I just got a private message in the chat from Kevin. Anybody need a bathroom break or another?
Oh, that was during the commercials that were way too short. It's not my fault. You guys are, slow to read.
Sorry, I got 18 other things I'm trying to keep paying attention to right now.
Excuse.
Well, we got to pay attention to these comments. Get ready for them for the.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Well, that's a different. That's different because that's the live show. That's not a recording, so they will actually be popping up on the
different.
screen.
That's people who matter, not Kevin.
Yes, not Kevin.
Kevin's
just here to bring it pretty.
Exactly.
So Bithiah declares Moses her son, even though she just found him in a basket. And like any good epic film, we cut to 30 years later, and there's still 3 hours and 25 minutes left in the show.
But that was explained by Cecil B. DeMille.
Yeah, B. DeMille. Yeah, there's not.
There were 30 years of missing of his life.
We still somehow managed to get a 3 hour and 40-minute film out of it. Yul Brynner shows up on screen as Ramses II, and for some reason he has a different accent from every other actor in the film. And we're introduced to Moses, the warrior. And as he's
different accent.
Yes, who also has a different accent. As he's entering the scene, I kept having a lot of like Mel Brooks like comparisons as I'm watching this, a lot of like throwbacks to history of the world. And so in this scene where we're introduced to Moses the warrior, where he comes in with the Ethiopian people that he conquered and all the gold and jewelry and stuff for the pharaoh, all I can think of is as he's walking in is, remember thou art mortal. Remember thou art mortal. Remember thou art mortal. Fuck off. And then he hands all the gold and jewels and everything to the pharaoh. And the next thing that popped in my head was treasure man. We are then introduced to Nefertiri, who is the throne princess, which means that she is the one betrothed to whoever is going to be named the next pharaoh. They don't get into this explicitly in the film, but I looked it up, and throne princess basically means that she was the pharaoh's daughter. So she was either going to be married to one brother or the other.
Right. Now,
yes, go ahead.
Let's talk about Nefertiti for a second.
When she sees Moses, her chair gets wetter than the Nile.
Well, besides that, in most of her scenes,
yes,
the outfit she's wearing should not make this movie a G rating.
Yeah, it's very risque for 1956.
It's very nipply in what she's wearing. Very nipply.
It's actually like.
Well, this was before the rating system we know now was truly adopted. But yes, she is bearing a little more than,
They talk about it in the trivia of the film that, like, historically accurate would have been like almost nude.
Yes,
because of the region that they lived in and the arid climate and all that. But
it's hot.
What they were wearing was still considered pretty risque for the time period. Yeah. Plus, she's slipping and sliding all over the seat every time Moses walks into the room.
Well, aren't you every time you see Charlton Heston?
I don't know, because the first time we meet the Ethiopians, yikes. I'm pretty sure Moses and the Ethiopian princess had a little jungle fever going on.
Yes, sir.
Then we get another treasure bath. And then we get to some of the more serious stuff in the film as Ramses II explains that the slaves' reluctance to build cities is because they believe a savior has come to rescue them. The whole time he's talking about this to the Pharaoh Seti, Nefertiri is throwing fuck me eyes at Moses. We get our first "So let it be written, so let it be done" from the Pharaoh Seti. I'm pretty sure the royal line, as I said, is full of incest.
Oh yeah,
that was fairly common in ancient Egypt.
That's fairly common. A lot of royal.
For at this point, then we are introduced to the Hebrew slaves, who I must say, for working outside in the hot sun all day and sweating, their fucking makeup and hair is on point.
Especially Joshua's.
I mean, Joshua, man, I have it in here. Joshua's hair is fabulous. It's in my notes. I mean, it's almost like they were on it's almost like they were on a Hollywood set.
It's like the song "Werewolves of London," and his hair was perfect.
Perfect. I'll say it again. Edward G. Robinson is in this movie playing an Egyptian.
Nah, wait till it's high now.
No.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. He's not. He's a Hebrew.
He is a Hebrew.
He's the Hebrew that's like helping the Egyptians.
He's the overseer. So
he's the overseer. So he's like getting rewarded by the Egyptians all the time.
Yep.
But he's Edward G. Robinson. See, yeah. I'll keep an eye on them. I'll get them to work for you. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be your eyes and your weasel tongue and whatever else you ask for.
Cut to Joshua's fabulous hair, to Nefertiti in her bedroom trying on dresses. I call them dresses loosely because they're all see-through.
She also called them dresses loosely.
Yes, and she is
for her wedding night.
Speaking to her
slip off.
Speaking to her handmaidens about Moses and refilling the Nile again. Enter Ramses II, who is already so sure that he's going to be named the next pharaoh because he is first in line, and is like just all over having Nefertiti as his own, even though realistically she's probably his sister. But he comes in with one of the biggest fucking movie flexes I have ever heard in my life. When he walks in the scene and says to Nefertiti, "I will own you like my horses, dogs, and falcons. But I will love you more and trust you less."
Oh, that was right after she was playing that game with the Pharaoh. Yeah,
with the Pharaoh, they were playing that looked like backgammon or something like that. Yeah. In serious, I've been making a lot of jokes here, but the set pieces in this film are phenomenal. Like this is some of the most beautiful cinematography.
Oh yeah.
Sound stages. There's actual footage of Egypt that they use in the film, like as part of the backdrop. I mean, it is a beautiful, beautiful film. In the next scene,
that's so long.
Yeah. In the next scene, Nefertiti is talking again about Moses to her handmaiden Memnet. Memnet is the one who was there when Bethia declared Moses her son out of the river.
And foreshadowed that she would die if she ever.
Yes, she foreshadowed she would die if she ever said anything. But Memnet decides to fuck over Moses anyway and tell Nefertiti about his Hebrew birth. Nefertiti pretty much dries up like the Sahara at that point.
Then kills her.
Yeah, that takes us to a scene involving Aaron and somebody else and some woman whose name I can't remember, and I kind of skipped that scene.
Joan.
I don't care. That takes us to another long narration. At this point, Moses is turned into a slave because it is revealed that he is a Hebrew and has joined his people working on the pyramids. And I asked myself the question, why wasn't he just executed? Like he's been living in,
he is like a son to Pharaoh.
Yeah,
he
like a
could
son
not
to Pharaoh.
come through it.
Except
He
he's
could
now
not
a slave. We're introduced to Vincent Price, who is a horny motherfucker in this movie.
Well, Vincent Price was in there earlier too.
Yeah, he was working with Moses earlier as they were looking at the pyramids and shit. But in this scene,
a master butcher. Oh,
yes, the master butcher. In this scene, we're introduced to the fact that Vincent Price is after Miriam, who is the person that Aaron is in love with, who I think is Moses' sister or something.
No. He was after Lily, who was
Lily?
Joshua's
girl. Okay, yeah. I get them all confused. But Vincent Price is horny for her. Nefertiti shows up. She sees Moses working in the mud, covered in mud and dirt and guck, and gets wet all over again.
And more of her see-through clothing.
Yes. He goes from the Prince of Egypt to like the Hebrew version of Martin Luther King Jr. in this scene. In the next scene, she's back in her bedroom looking at more dresses, and it's like basically see-through cloth that she's holding up in front of the mirror. And all I can think in this scene is, taffeta, darling. Because Moses shows up all muddy and shit, and he tries to hug Nefertiti and thinks better of it.
Did he just have open access to her?
She had the guards bring him up.
Yeah, she had the guards bring him up.
All right. In the next scene.
How many hours are we in so far?
We haven't gotten to the intermission yet.
We've got to like about an hour 15, maybe.
Yeah. So after the taffeta darling scene, Moses is released, and he goes on basically like a journey, where he comes upon these women who are huddled around as well as they're washing clothing and stuff.
Wait a minute. You did skip the part where he kills Baca.
Yeah, he does kill Vincent Price.
Yes. That's why
I did fall asleep at a couple points.
Yeah. He kills Baca, the master builder, gets arrested, and gets exiled.
Okay, so he gets exiled. He comes upon these women working around a well. Apparently, the Hebrew women are just as horny as the Egyptian women, because he shows up in the scene, and it's like, man, and
he gets a pick.
Yeah, he gets the pick amongst all the daughters, because in the next scene he becomes like the Hugh Hefner of Israel. He meets Jethro's daughters, who are giving this like extended like 4-minute long belly dance scene. Because Moses was exiled, Ramses II becomes pharaoh after old Seti dies. Some time passes again, a few years, because we then meet Moses and his young son Gershom, who partakes in a long tradition of kids who can't fucking act. Moses is reunited with Joshua, whose hair is just as fabulous as it was the last time we saw him.
So he's about to die of starvation and dehydration.
And then
his hair is still great.
Joshua asks Moses to lead the people out of Egypt. Just like Neo, Frodo, and Luke Skywalker, Moses is the one. Moses climbs a mountain and finds the burning bush. That's not a euphemism. The bush is actually on fire, and the voice of God speaks to him.
That was Nefertiti waiting up there for him.
Yeah. Thank God she had enough water to put it out.
There was a lot of holy women out there, so there's a lot of burning bushes. Could be.
So he hears from the voice of God, which is also Charlton Heston's voice doing the voice of God. So it's Charlton Heston overacting against himself.
He says, Moses, yes, God. How long can you tread water? Sorry.
No, he
Wrong
says,
Bible verse.
He says, what is your name, Lord? And he says, I am what I am, and that's all that I am. Seeing God washes out Heston's hair dye and inspires him to free the Israelites from bondage. We are now at the intermission at 2 hours and 15 minutes. Still an hour and 40 minutes left to go. After the intermission ends, we get a 3-minute long entr'acte. This would be the intermission version of the overture. That ends, and we get 2 more minutes of narration. Moses returns to Egypt. He enters the throne room of Ramses and Nefertiti. Nefertiti sees him, recognizes him, and gets slippery all over again. Here we get the famous line, "Let my people go." We're also introduced to Ramses' son, who is a bit of a dickhead.
Kind of like
and like Ramses. And then we get the Battle of the Snakes. This is where he turns his staff into a snake.
And that's not a euphemism either.
Yeah, and then the other guys turn their staffs into snakes, and the snakes fight each other, and Moses' snake inhales the other snakes because Moses' snake is bigger. Moses leaves, ignoring the fact that
Nefertiti gets all wet again.
Yeah, I was going to say Nefertiti. He leaves Nefertiti drippy and just goes off on his own. There's beauty beyond looks is a quote from the film. I don't remember what that was about, but I just remembered it and put it down. And then from here, we get one of my favorite parts of the film, the 10 plagues. The 10 plagues in the Bible are the river Nile turns red, frogs rain from the sky, locusts destroy all the crops, All the men and women in the town get boils inexplicably. Lice, flies, all the livestock dies. Hail falls from the sky and turns to flames on the ground. Then there are 3 nights of darkness before the firstborn son of all the Egyptian men die. You don't see most of them because it's, I imagine they were running out of money at this point. Some of them are a little hard to film.
We're at 3 hours and 20 minutes. If we include the plagues, that's up to 5 hours and 10 minutes.
No. They had to save the money for what was coming later.
Yeah, so we get to see the Nile turn red. We hear about the boils and the lice and flies. We see the hail turn to fire, which is a pretty cool visual effect. We see the darkness, and then we see more dead babies. This movie has more dead babies per capita than any other film in Hollywood history. The Old Testament God does not give a fucketh.
And I'll tell you, this is one of the reasons when people say how angels are supposed to be nice. I go, no, look in the Bible and see what the goddamn angels did to the Egyptians.
And you had to see, like, the Hebrews had to paint, like, the blood of lamb around their door frames, because if they didn't, the angels were going to kill them.
That's what we passed over, yes.
Excuse me, God, kill the babies. Wait, I'm sorry.
What?
I go there first. What's your question?
Kill the babies? Like,
kill the
animal babies? Like calves or lamb? No, human babies.
It's my go-to. Look, if I'm not here, just do that.
Yeah. Josh and his woman's story comes up again. I skipped that. The firstborn of Egypt scene is fucking intense. Like, this is an intense scene.
Oh, the whole fog and people just
the fog and people dropping dead, and then it's like I forgot, like, there's even like adults who drop dead because they're the firstborns.
Right.
And it's a crazy scene. And then Ramsey's son is the ultimate, the culmination of everything.
And the screams out the streets.
It's brutal scene. And then at this point, Ramses decides to let the Israelites go. I fell asleep again for a little bit and woke up to see the people leaving Egypt.
Well, that's a cast of thousands right there.
Yeah, that's a cast of thousands. We now enter the city slickers portion of the film, where we're trying to, like, herd the cattle and the people together and get them out of Egypt.
Hello.
There's more narration. Still 35 minutes left to go.
Nefertiti gets on her bitch box about her son dying. Says,
yeah. She's the one that wants Moses dead. Still 35 minutes to go. More fantastic set pieces, and then we get to what is probably the most well-known scene in the film, and probably the best scene in the film, and it's the parting of the Red Sea. Moses does this thing, lifts his arms up, the sea parts in half. The Israelites make their way across. Ramses, who has decided to run down Moses and kill all the people, follows him. The Israelites get through the river, or get through the Red Sea.
Mm-hmm.
Ramses stops and says, "This is not a job for a pharaoh. Let the butchers do it." And he sends all of his men in. They follow the Israelites into the Red Sea. Moses stands on the mountain and says, "You shall not pass." And the Red Sea closes in on them, drowns all the men, and Ramses gives up.
No. When he stands on the mountain is after he got the 10 Commandments.
Yeah. Well, no. He stands on the mountain a few times in this film.
Okay.
He stands on top of the mountain to open the Red Sea, stands on top of the mountain
He
to
gets
close
up
the
there
Red
and he
Sea.
goes, hello. Hey, up here.
All right.
Attention, please.
We're now at Mount Sinai, where Moses ascends the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. During that time, the Israelites have a spring break frat party while waiting for Moses to return. They start worshiping false gods, having orgies, all kinds of craziness going on. He comes down from the mountain with the 10 commandments.
Then he throws it at him and breaks them.
He sees what everybody's doing, and he's like, "You will live by the law, but now you shall die by the law." Some light smiting ensues when he throws the 10 commandments to the ground, and the ground opens up and swallows people.
And then he is forever, cursed, never to make it to the promised land.
Yeah. So then after that, we get some narration about the fact that the people traveled the desert for 40 years because, like most men, Moses refused to stop and ask for directions.
He used MapQuest.
The last time we see Moses, he is refused entrance into the promised land because of his anger. But for some reason, he is also turned into Santa Claus in this scene. He has the longest, whitest beard I've ever seen. And final analysis after watching this film is I am way more cynical than I was when I watched this as a kid. And that's all I got to say about that. It was enjoyable to watch again, especially watching it from that perspective where I was trying to, make jokes as I was watching it.
Yes. It is a very rewatchable movie.
It is an amazing
Well,
film.
at
It
least
is.
once a year, I think I can rewatch it.
Yeah, I can't I'm not gonna sit down and be like, I could really go for the 10 Commandments today.
No, but
it's Memorial Day weekend. What are you watching? The 10 Commandments.
Honestly, if I have 3 hours and 40 minutes set aside, I'm gonna watch Shawshank again.
No, but I'm thinking like you do with like the Lord of the Rings. If you see it on, you stop and you watch it.
Maybe it depends on the scene. If it's like Joshua shit, I'm usually not that interested.
What?
But anything
You
really
like
Moses.
Joshua's hair?
The hair is fabulous, but his storyline is extraneous in a film that's
If
already
it's
3 hours and 40
Nefertiti,
minutes.
it's like, well, maybe.
Yeah, I'm cool with the Nefertiti Moses stuff, but I don't need to see Joshua's love story. So the taglines for this movie: the greatest event in motion picture history.
Okay.
It would take more than a man to lead the slaves from bondage. It would take a god. I don't like that one because that's kind of saying Moses is a god.
Well, no, that was actually a line Moses said in the movie.
Yeah, but when you use it as a tagline, it's kind of out of context.
Well, true.
And then the last tagline is from the 1966 re-release. Paramount Pictures is proud to announce the return of the greatest motion picture of all time. Now, I don't know if you could call it the greatest motion picture of all time when you figure it didn't win any of the major awards at the Oscars. So,
It didn't with special effects.
So here's what it won. So I have it up here already. So it was nominated for 12 Academy Awards. It was nominated for Best Picture with Cecil B. DeMille as the producer, cinematography, art direction, costume design, Best Special Effects, Best Film Editing, and Best Sound. The only thing it won for was the Best Special Effects.
I think it should have got cinematography too.
It should have got cinematography and art direction. It didn't get those.
Yeah.
It didn't get Best Picture. Cecil B. DeMille didn't even get a directing Oscar nomination for this. That to me is a fucking travesty.
It is.
So that year, Yul Brynner won Best Actor for The King and I. There were no acting nominations from the 10 Commandments.
That's because Charlton Heston hammed up the whole movie.
No, he does, but you would figure he'd still get a nomination for it. Cinematography for color films. They had a black and white and color cinematography Oscar back then. The cinematography color went to Around the World in 80 Days. Beating out the Eddie Dutchin Story, The King and I, The 10 Commandments, and War and Peace. It didn't even win costume design. It should have won that, too. The directing Oscar went to George Stevens for Giant. And as I said, Cecil B. DeMille did not even get a nomination for directing.
Here's what's funny. Giant. Has anybody ever heard of Giant?
Giant is James Dean's last movie.
Okay. If you're a James Dean fan, you know it.
It's a James Dean movie, and I think it was the last one he did before he died. So the best motion picture that year, The 10 Commandments was nominated, The King and I, Giant, Friendly Persuasion, and the winner for Best Picture, Around the World in 80 Days. That to me is bizarre.
Yeah.
All right. So, what, gentlemen, do you think is the most rewatchable scene in this film?
Nefertiti. No.
Nefertiti.
Nefertiti's.
Nefertiti's.
The orgy scene. For me personally, I think the best scene in the film is the parting of the Red Sea.
Parting of the Red Sea.
Yeah, I mean, it is the most iconic scene in the film, and it's I wouldn't call it a rewatchable scene, but one of the best scenes in the film is the plague scene.
The time this movie was made, that was an awesome.
Yeah, special effect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they could even match that kind of special effect now.
They could. It would just be all CGI.
Yeah, but yeah, you know it's CGI.
I mean, that was a special effect that was done practically. Like that was an actual tank full of water. I like the plague scene a lot. It's very intense. I wouldn't call it a rewatchable scene, but it's an amazing scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I like any scene with
Yul Brynner?
where Yul Brynner versus like Charlton Heston. Whether it's Moses the warrior or Moses the prophet or whatever, and Yul Brynner's in the scene, it's always pretty entertaining. What's the best quote from the film? Now, I think. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, "Where's your Messiah now, Moses?" Because I hear the gangster.
Edward G.
in him,
Robinson.
You know? Yeah.
See,
where's your Messiah now?
Where's your prophet now? Hey, where's your savior? I think the most famous one is probably "Let My People Go."
That's the most famous. I like
or "Let It Be Written, Let It Be Done."
I like the one where, are you a master builder or a master butcher?
Yeah. Now, after watching this again for the first time in a while and hearing that quote and writing it down, I have to say, I will own you like my dogs, my horses, and my falcons, but love you more and trust you less is a fucking badass line. Especially coming from Yul Brynner. I will own you like my horses, my falcons, and my dogs. The scene that aged the best. All the practical effects scenes.
Oh yeah,
I think are fucking amazing.
Joshua's hair.
Joshua's hair is amazing. Nefertiti's
lack. Well, she was clothed. She was.
Nefertiti's wishy-washiness. The thing that aged the worst to me, the Ethiopian scene. It's pretty bad. And all the scenes with Joshua and Miriam, like, I understand Joshua is an important character, but the love story stuff just felt unnecessary and could have made the film a little bit shorter and still be an epic, you know.
Well,
I know it's important to the Vincent Price stuff.
Well, which made it important for, because Moses killed Vincent Price. Because of that.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't do it as much as they did it.
There's other ways you could have gotten into that,
especially after the Vincent Price stuff. You really didn't need Lily.
No,
but they brought her back.
Moses could have been exiled as soon as they found out he was a Hebrew.
Yeah,
or, you know.
But you had to have that time for him to work as a slave with the people and all that. And I mean, he could have been exiled after he beat the shit out of the dude for trying to kill the woman who was greasing the bricks or whatever. Oh, well, he was still an Egyptian at that point.
Yeah, he was. Joshua should have been killed, but he was
pardoned by Moses.
Yes.
The overacting award,
faithful to the original book.
What?
I haven't read the Bible.
I'm trying to remember the Joshua scenes in the original.
Let's not get into the original book, because the original book has been copied and rewritten and copied and rewritten in different languages so many times. Is it really the original book?
I want to read the passages from the Bible that talk about Nefertiti's horniness.
Well, they also said they got stuff from Josephus, though, at the beginning. Remember?
Yeah, Josephus. Hey, Josephus. Hey, motherfucker.
I'm surprised you didn't say that about at the beginning.
That's in the trivia stuff, the Josephus stuff. The overacting award, I think, hands down, goes to Charlton Heston, who wins it in every film that he's in. And then finally,
dirty Egyptian paws off of me.
It's people. So here's a little bit of trivia about the film. I'm not going to go into everything. There's a lot of stuff in here. So Cecil B. DeMille picked Charlton Heston for the role of Moses because he bore resemblance to the Michelangelo statue of Moses in Rome, Italy. Not because he was the actor that was best for the role, but he looked like the statue.
A statue based on white people.
Yes, at least, basically. At least 14,000 extras and 15,000 animals were used in this movie.
Cast of thousands.
Well, that's an amazing thing, too, because, like, now you figure, like,
That's
that
all
battle
CGI now.
that battle scene in Lord of the Rings at the battle at Minas Tirith is like or Gondor rather, it's all CGI. Like army, but I mean it looks real, but it's obviously CGI. This is real fucking people. The young Moses in the basket, baby Moses, is played by Fraser Heston, who was Charlton Heston's 3-month-old newborn baby.
I didn't know actual
That way-
people were named Fraser.
Yeah, Fraser Heston.
That way, the baby looked like Moses.
He was 3 months old. He didn't look like anything at that point.
You have a baby that looked like Yul Brynner. Come on now.
You could have put a chimpanzee baby in there, probably would look like you, Charlton Heston. I'm looking for one. There was like a really interesting one on here. This was Cecil B. DeMille's last film. He passed away a couple years after making it. He was working on another film that he never finished. Anne Baxter herself thought that she was miscast as Nefertiti because of her Irish features. But she loved doing the film and watched it every Easter on television up until the year she died. No one received on-screen credit for the voice of God, save Charlton Heston, who did the voice of God in The Burning Bush. But it wasn't his voice later on when God hands the Ten Commandments down to Moses. It was somebody else. But they never gave credit to it. Adjusted for inflation, this is the top-grossing movie in the U.S. that has not benefited from multiple releases. It is generally in the top 3 to top 10 of all-time grossing movies, depending on who made the list and how they've accounted for re-releases adjusted to inflation. The end of the movie, after Charlton Heston as Moses has turned over leadership of the Israelites to Joshua, he watches as the Israelites march into Canaan. Moses was supposed to have been enveloped in fog coming down from the mountain, but the effect was never completed. As a result, Moses is just shown standing there watching the Israelites go, close to the story as related in the Bible. The highest earning live action movie after Gone with the Wind, 1939, but then that record was broken by The Sound of Music in 1965. Nina Foch, who plays Bithia, the Pharaoh's daughter, is only 1 year younger than Charlton Heston, her on-screen adopted son. Several scenes were matted together from scenes shot on location in Egypt and scenes shot at the Paramount Pictures lot in Hollywood. For instance, when Moses and Seti watched the obelisk being raised, the slaves in the background were shot at the Valley of Kings in Egypt. The foreground pavilion with Moses and Seti was shot in Hollywood, and the background pylons were miniatures. That's what I mean. Like that's all practical effects brought together to make like a really amazing scene.
Right.
I'm looking for the one about the Red Sea because that's a cool like explanation of how that works.
Up a bit.
I know it's like down towards like the spoilers part. Spoilers.
The illusion of the Red Sea parting was achieved by large dump tanks that were flooded. Then the film was shown in reverse. The two frothing walls of water were created by water dumped constantly into catch basin areas. Then the foaming, churning water was visually manipulated and used sideways for the walls of water. Gelatin was added to the tanks to give the water consistency like of seawater. The dump tanks have long since been removed, but the catch basin still exists on the Paramount Pictures lot directly in front of the exterior sky backdrop in the central portion of the studio. It can still be flooded for water scenes. When it's not being used in production, it is an extension of the parking lot. There you go.
The movie is usually edited very slightly for TV because of numerous lengthy commercial breaks. Most showings clock in at around 4.5 hours. The DVD release is 3 hours and 39 minutes on 2 discs, leading some humorists to comment that it had been trimmed down to 7 commandments. The movie features an international cast of foreign-born leading and supporting actors and actresses from the following countries. Yul Brynner is from Russia. Edward G. Robinson is from Romania. Yvonne DiCarlo, Douglas Drumble, and Henry Corden are from Canada. Sir Cedric Hardwicke and H.B. Warner from England. Judith Anderson from Australia. Henry Wilcoxon from Dominica. Abbas el-Baghdadi and Rushdie Abaza from Egypt, Ramsey Hill from Guyana, and Henry Brandon from Germany. The sequence of the Red Sea covering the Egyptians was achieved in one take, as the stunt people, actors, and horses were so frightened and almost seriously hurt by the 100,000 gallons of water falling down over them, they refused to do another take.
Oh, wow.
Cecil B. DeMille, who usually demanded much of his cast and crew, agreed that one take was enough. There's actually a joke in when we were talking about Blazing Saddles a few weeks ago that he's killed more men than Cecil B. DeMille. And it's because Cecil B. DeMille has been known to have like people die on his sets because he was like such a perfectionist with like stunts and all that stuff. The film was added to the National Film Registry by the United States Library of Congress in 1999.
I like this one. There's a long-standing joke that on the set that if the movie was a hit, it was all due to Cecil B. DeMille, and if it was a flop, it was God's fault.
Yeah, exactly. According to the script, the names of Jethro's 7 daughters are Sephora, Sada, Idia, Nora, Nusura, Dira, and Lalula. Lalula has a line that was deleted from the movie. They will have crow's feet by the time it's my turn to marry. I am the youngest. Man!
He's a man.
In the scene in which God writes the 10 Commandments, the voice says, Lord thy God. The Hebrew written on the stones is actually the Tetragrammaton in ancient Paleo-Hebrew letters. According to modern-day archaeologists, the English translation would be Yahweh. Steven Spielberg himself claims that the parting of the Red Sea is the greatest special effect in movie history. And this is the man that did Jurassic Park.
Yeah, well, those are just dinosaurs.
The pre-production of this film included over 1,200 storyboard sketches. 12 of the credited cast members were awarded stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Charlton Heston, Yul Brynner, Anne Baxter, Edward G. Robinson, Yvonne DiCarlo, Cedric Hardwicke, Nina Fauch, Vincent Price, John Carradine, Henry Wilcox, and H.B. Warner, and Julia Fay.
The orgy sequence was so difficult to film, partly because Cecil B. DeMille wanted it to look like an orgy without showing anything on screen that was inappropriate for children. This led to seemingly contradictory direction for the actors and actresses who were trying to be tame, but were then told that they didn't look like they were having an orgy.
I know. Like, how do you do an orgy and still keep it G? There's one in here. I can't remember where I saw it, but there was one where one of the extras was talking to another extra on set while he was giving directions, and he got really upset. And he said something along the lines of like, "Do you have something you'd like to share with the rest of us, young lady? Like, what is so important that you're interrupting my direction?" And she said, "I was just saying to my friend here, when is this old windbag going to call lunch?" At which Cecil B. DeMille went, "Lunch," and they all took a break for the day. So do we have anything else we'd like to add to this 3-hour and 40-minute epic?
Well, look, gentlemen, I mean, I don't know how well versed you are, and there have been a couple retellings of this story.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we can do a slight comparison between 2 other movies which are modernish retellings, the Prince of Egypt, Exodus, and then Prince of Egypt, I think, would be the 2 that I would put out there for this.
The Prince of Egypt is the animated film.
Right, with Val Kilmer and others.
And Exodus, Gods and Kings, right?
Yep, Ridley Scott, and that was Christian Bale and I want to say Harrington.
I have it here. Hold on. Joel Egerton as Ramses.
Egerton.
Christian Bale as Moses. Sigourney Weaver's in it. Aaron Paul. John Turturro. Ben Kingsley's in it.
Aaron Paul, that was before he decided to fight Mike Tyson, right?
No, you're thinking of Jake Paul. Aaron Paul was in Breaking Bad.
Oh, that's
right. In this one, he's like, Moses, bitch. I've not seen Exodus, Gods and Kings.
No,
I feel like I should probably watch it and give it as a comparison to this film at this point. So I might have to give it a watch this week. So, Mike, do you have any beer trivia or history for us this evening?
I have a fun fact. Beer foam is, on average, about 40% beer. So before you blow the froth off your next pint, realize that with a little patience, the foam will settle and your glass will eventually become a bit fuller.
Nice. Though, if you pour it right the first time, you shouldn't have that much foam to begin with.
Exactly. Like, you got to give it a little bit of a
Little
slant.
tilt.
Little tilt.
Don't rush the process.
Yes, but, there are people that rush the process.
So Passover
sometimes
is
it's
not
good to
until
have
the
a
end
little.
of April.
Nope.
Yep.
Okay. Easter is this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, Easter.
So shouldn't this be shown closer to Passover than it should be to Easter?
It should be, but
Shouldn't we be watching the Passion of the Christ on television?
Probably, but
technically, Easter in the Bible, what we celebrate Easter for in the Bible, happens right after Passover.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This Easter changes because we decided to put it on some, heathen holiday and let it change around.
So I think normally when I was a kid, I would watch 10 Commandments around this time. I would watch The Wizard of Oz because that always came on around this time.
Sound of Music.
And Jesus of Nazareth used to come on a lot around this time. That was the one with the blue-eyed Jesus.
You see, we would watch The Last Temptation of Christ.
I watched that one time. My dad and I watched it together one time, and I was like, not The Last Temptation of Christ. I'm thinking of Passion of the Christ.
Oh, okay.
Last Temptation of Christ is the one with
Willem Dafoe
as Jesus and
Yep.
Harvey Keitel as Judas by way of Brooklyn. That's actually not a bad movie, Last Temptation of Christ. But I was thinking Passion of the Christ. My dad and I watched that, and after watching it, we were like, God damn it. I don't think I can ever watch that again. That was brutal.
It's rough.
It was like, I was like, I had to watch Schindler's List to wash my palate out.
Man.
Sophie's Choice.
Sophie's Choice. No, it's like, again, it's a Family Guy thing where they're watching Passion of the Christ, and he's like, man, if I was that Christ guy, I wouldn't have taken that. And it cuts to Peter on the pillar, and he gets whipped, and he stands up, and he's like, no. 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 And the guy's like, I'm sorry. And he's like, okay.
No.
So, on that note, thank you for joining us tonight for episode 146.
Lee?
Yeah.
Final drinks.
Final drink?
What was your guys' drinks?
We got to talk about drinks. Mike says iced tea. Go ahead. Talk about your iced tea, Mike.
I'm asking you guys how your drinks were.
It's a Wawa tea. It's delicious.
No, it's not. It's home brewed.
I'm sorry. It's Turkey Hill.
It's sugar-free Lipton.
It's sugar-free.
So I had a Sam Adams Red Zone Lager and a Franzenheiner Weiss beer. Both were very good. And
I
need a glass of water now because I feel dried out.
Home at Port Belgian style dark ale. Man, did that hit me hard. 12.6%. Guess I should have had more than just salad for dinner. Man.
Yeah.
Seriously. I'm cross-eyed.
All right. On that note, thank you for joining us tonight for episode 146 of The 10 Commandments. We hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Don't forget, you can drop us an email at filmsfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. Become parts of the Film the Fermentation family by supporting us on Patreon or buying our merchandise at teespring.com or by visiting the Deluxe Edition Network.com. That's Deluxe Edition Network, The Den, to find out more about us and the other podcasts that belong to the network. Don't forget to stop by the crossroads between Pickled and Fermented next time around. We are going to be taking a little bit of a break, little spring break, have you? And we will be back with a brand new episode on Tuesday, April 16th. I don't know what the topic is going to be for that episode yet, but we will let you know as soon as we find out. And don't forget, we're going to be doing a Films and Fermentation live episode on Monday, May 6th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be our Star Wars Day episode. So make sure you join us for all these upcoming shows. In the meantime,
It's live and in living color.
Live and living color, yeah. I'm Leo.
I am. I'm Kevin.
So let it be written. So let it be done.
Let it be done.
I am Mike.
Let my podcast go.
My people go.
We are
Moses supposes erroneously.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.